All right, so today I'm going to be talking to you about Presonus ES2. It's an entry-level recording audio interface that I've been testing here in the studio for probably about, 45 days to 60 days. For those of you who don't know, I spend a significant amount of time assessing a piece of gear before I do a review, because what's important to me is that you always get the most honest review that you can from watching me on YouTube. And so you can always count on the fact you're going to get an honest review here. I can't be bought and paid for by any vendor or any music store out there. So always know that about this channel. Before I get into the ES2, I need to talk about some housekeeping for the channel real quick. So bear with me for just a moment, and then we'll get on to my discussions about the Presonus ES2. As you can see here, I make custom enclosures for Soft Tube's Console 1 system MK3, both the faders as well as the Console 1. This is a prototype that I'm working on right now. I actually did an updated one for this desk over the weekend, but I still need to spray it with some lacquer and everything. So hopefully by this weekend, that'll be on here. I also make various other configurations, whether you just need one for a single unit or whether you need two, one here and then one there. I've got those as well. You can go to www.artisanwoodshed.com and check out the gallery as well as a store where you can purchase these if you're interested in doing so. I will be expanding beyond the Console 1 system here pretty soon, but for right now, this is what I'm focused on. So if you're a Console 1 user, I encourage you strongly to go check that out. Next, I'm part of the affiliate program with Sweetwater, which means they never have a say in anything I say or do, ever, ever, ever. But I'm part of their affiliate program, which basically means there's a link down in the description below. If you go choose that link and go purchase anything from a set of strings or a mic cable all the way up to your heart's content, I get a tiny percentage of it. And that's how I sustain this channel, is through both of my affiliate links. The second one being to Tommen, which is based out of Germany over in Europe. So if you're on that side, I would encourage you please to go check that out and use the link down below. It really helps me out. I want to say a personal thanks to all of you, especially over the last year. When I started this at the beginning of last year, you have truly been a blessing for me in this channel, being able to support the hard work that I put into it for all of you folks. Not only do I do this, but I also work a full-time job and I have a full-time woodworking business. So I'm a busy guy, but I dedicate this time to you guys, and that's one way you can pay me back. So I appreciate that. Now let's get on to the Presonus ES2, and I'll tell you what my thoughts are on it. The ES2 is an entry-level recording interface designed at really that person who just wants to dabble with it and really see where they can take it. Or there maybe they have a lot of experience, but they're on a tight budget and they can't afford anything more expensive. Nothing wrong with any of that. But is this the right device for you? Well, you'll know that by the end of this video, and I hope to be able to share my thoughts with you on that. Again, I've been using this here in this studio for minimum 45 days, almost 2 months. Half of that time I used it in my video editing room upstairs, where it has worked flawlessly for me up there. I've done a lot of my voiceovers for a lot of my videos upstairs using this interface, and I can't really tell a distinguishable difference between it and my RME UFX Plus. Now, are there differences? Yes, there are differences, but when it comes to a voiceover, you're not going to notice it that much, to be honest with you. That will build up over time, and the strengths of a better recording interface will come to light over a period of track after track after track. So right now this thing sells for $229. I think you can go check your music store that you like to do business with and see what their current price is. I believe it's on sale for like $199. And I've tested quite a few interfaces in this price range. And me being in this as long as I've been in this, I don't often get a chance to really try those things, with the exception of this channel. My experience has varied depending on the manufacturer as far as whether I thought it was a good buy or not a good buy. I will say with the Presonus ES2, it has performed exceptionally well for everything I've asked it to do. I think the conversion on it, considering its price range, is very, very good. I think the mic preamps on it, again, you got to keep in mind the price of this unit. So you can only have so many, your expectations can only be so high. But the preamps on this thing, they're durable as far as everything I can tell. They're clean, very, very clean, and they have a tremendous amount of headroom. You're not going to have any problem plugging any mic into this. whatsoever, it will be enough to power it without using anything else. Also, the headphone outputs on it are incredibly strong, although I encourage you never to listen to music super loud. You're going to destroy your ears, which is a foundation of your ability to do all of this. So kind of keep that in mind. This unit has one headphone output, whereas I believe the ES4 has two. So kind of keep that in mind. But if you're buying this, it's likely just you kind of auditioning that as you're tracking. So it's a quite simple setup. 2 analog in and 2 analog out. The 2 analog out obviously are meant to go out to your studio monitors, and your inputs are designed to either take an XLR or 1/4 inch balanced. You also have a line level input on the front of the unit in case you want to track a guitar or bass directly through the unit and then reamp or apply a software bass guitar amp or bass amp in post. Now, for the record, I did set this up and do a test on using as a hardware interface, which basically meant I had to disconnect my outputs to my monitors and use just the headphones, so kind of keep that in mind. I came out of my digital audio workstation into an input, 1/4 inch balanced input on the rear of the unit, and then out of the ES2 back into my digital audio workstation. And in the combination of that, I had a hardware insert as a compressor. Latency was very, very low, not even noticeable at all. The Cubase was able to compensate for any latency was there. So let's speak about latency in general. The latency on this thing is very good. I mean, when I say very good, it's very low. It's very low. I didn't notice any issues whatsoever in tracking, and it performed exceptionally well. I think what gear manufacturers can put into lesser expensive products these days has become phenomenal to what it was 10, 15 years ago. You can get a heck of a lot of bang for the buck for very little money these days. The only thing where you're going to run into challenges in this price range is obviously they have to compensate somewhere, and that's ultimately going to be on the build quality and the longevity of a unit. That being said, if you're just starting out with something like this, the odds are very strong that you're going to grow into another interface as your needs progress, whether it's more I/O, more varied types of I/O, being digital connections and things like that, like ADAT, MADI, or Dante. The last two is something most of you are never going to do, but certainly ADAT is. You're likely to end up going down that road at some point. I'm not saying everybody will, but there's a good chance you will. So I wouldn't concern myself with any longevity of the unit. I can't see any reason why you can't get quite a few years of use out of this with no problem. And I think you'd be very surprised at how well this thing can perform. Now, for the record, I'm also testing, I'm looking at it over here to my right out of frame, and that is their Quantum HD8. So that is a review that will come up probably in the next couple of weeks. I've got a little more testing to do on that, and you're going to see some live demoing utilizing that unit with some external outboard gear I've got that's going to be coming up this coming week. So look forward to kind of checking that out. That is another interface that I'm also testing, and my initial thoughts on it so far are very good for the record. Now, of course, this does has 48 volt phantom power. So if you need to provide power to an external microphone, you've got the ability to do that on both channels on this. So that's not a problem. The one thing on it is it's either all or nothing. You can't do one with phantom power and one without. It's going to be both channels phantom power or both channels no phantom power. That's not an issue for most of you. So most of you are going to use in a phantom situation. You're probably either going to be doing a stereo mic pair on an acoustic guitar, or you're going to be using your vocal along with an acoustic guitar at the same time. And those are most likely going to require 48 volt phantom power in them anyway. So it's kind of a moot point, but kind of keep that in mind. And that is not uncommon in interfaces in this particular price range. I've always been somewhat suspicious of units that come with auto gain. And so I'm always curious, how well does that really do? And can I really rely on it? And I would tell you, using this interface, all of those concerns or hesitations have been completely removed. It works absolutely fantastic. So when you want to get recording something right away and you don't want to take the time to set the gain on a couple of things because a couple of seconds will matter in your ability to capture a moment, whether it's you or someone else, you can just set it to auto gain and it's going to adjust accordingly. And I found that it does a very, very good job. Now, I want to speak to one thing on there. A lot of times when I do a review of a product, I'll go out and do search the internet to find out what other users' opinions have been, and especially in the negative category. And then I kind of go into it to to really test it. Is this person right or are they wrong? And if they're wrong, that's something I want to address in the video. And if they're right, that's also something I want to address in the video. All you have to do is go watch my series on the Icon Pro Audio control surfaces, and you're going to sense quite a bit of that. So anyway, on Reddit, there was this user that posted, "Do not buy the Presonus ES2." Of course, that piqued my interest. It was the very first one I went to. And he's going on this massive long rant about how you can't control the mic inputs, the gain level, from the unit itself. You have to use a corresponding app, either in the computer or in your iOS device or your Android device. Yes, you can control this thing remotely, which does make it very convenient if you're kind of away from your computer and you want to be able to set a lot of things. That makes it very convenient. But he said you absolutely can't do it. I don't think there's any manufacturer on the planet that's so stupid to not give you the ability to control key components of that interface from the front of the unit. It may take a little bit longer, but I'm unaware of any that do it. If there are, well, I would just say that's not a wise move. Now, had this user spent 2 minutes, no joke, 2 minutes with the manual, they could have quickly found out all they had to do was hit the input, push down on this dial, you turn it, set the gain for 1, push it again, you set the gain for 2. Same thing goes with headphone out, okay? Push it once, it controls it. If you're on the ES4, it'll have 2 headphone outs. You can control the next one just by pressing it one more time. Really is no problem. Another user complaint that I saw out there, that they were whining, complaining about the fact that you can't adjust the dim from the unit, right? You can only do that via the application. Again, another 2 minutes with the manual could have clearly told that person that you can go into the settings of the app on the computer or your mobile device, and you can change the settings to tell the mute button to work as a dim button, and you can tell exactly how many dB you want to be able to reduce it when you do that. So again, I think the biggest problem out there is you've got people going on and whining and crying online in forums about something as if they're speaking from a place of authority, and the reality is they've not even bothered to open the manual. I simply just don't understand that. There's some gear that I don't ever consider a manual. If I'm buying a compressor, why do I need the manual? I know how to use a compressor. If I'm buying an EQ, I know how to use an EQ. Now, there are exceptions to both of those. One coming up on a review I'm also working on right now, which is a Tegeler Audio Varitube recording channel. Now, that one, you might need to break open the manual for, but we'll get to that at a later date. I actually love that thing right now. But so anyway, but for recording interfaces and things like that, you absolutely must read that manual from cover to cover. You must. And you're only doing yourself an injustice, I should say. And so for all of you folks out there that go Google these things, I ask that you really question the degree of knowledge that a whiner and a complainer out there, because anybody can whine and complain on the internet, that they're whining and complaining about, that you test it for yourself. You're going to find out that oftentimes it's operator error. Don't be that kind of person. Now, this unit will power an external USB device, so if you needed to charge your phone or something like that, there's a second connection on the back. You can connect that up, and you can charge that no problem. So it kind of gives you the ability, if you're doing that along the way or you're using that. This unit can be a MIDI control device, although you need to buy the breakout cable separately. That comes in 1/8 inch MIDI for your MIDI in and your MIDI out. You may only need MIDI out as an example, depending on what your needs are. But ultimately, that can be added to this device at any time, but it does not include it, so kind of keep that in mind. Basically, all this unit comes with is one USB-C cable, which is really all you need to get it up and running. Speaking of that, it is bus powered. It doesn't require an external power source, so that was no problem whatsoever. My overall opinion of the ES2 by Presonus is very high. I think it checked all of the boxes for me. There's really no single fault that I could find in it, considering its price range. Always have to keep that in mind. I'll say it again. But I can't really find any fault with it. Now, we can all talk about Julian Krause, who does a great service to this community. He'll get in and dig deep into all of the specs and individual things like that. The only thing I would caution you on, and I think he would do the same, when you're really kind of observing his measurements and everything and his opinion on that, is that oftentimes the differences in these nuances are relatively minor. They're splitting hairs, something the average person in the market for something like this would likely never in a million years notice. And so I would say don't get hung up on this. Stability and performance are the two most important things that you can get into when getting into a recording interface. The conversion today, as I stated before, it's all very good in the price range. Are there some in this price range that might be a hair better measurement-wise, but audible-wise, are you really going to tell a difference? I don't believe it, not for 1 second. I just don't. So kind of keep that in mind. There's no wrong answer. There's a lot of choices out there in this price range. But if you are considering the Presonus ES2, know that it comes highly recommended from this guy if that opinion matters to you at all. And if you're watching this, I would think that it probably does. So again, remember my affiliate links if you don't mind. I really appreciate that if you'd help me out with that channel. And then also if you've got a Console One system, go check out the website, www.artisanwoodshed.com. There's also a combination of Studio Talk's website over there as well. So until next time, hope every single one of you have a great day. Oh, don't forget comments. I like comments. Love engagement. Love hearing what you think, what you have to say. So leave those down below. Don't be shy. Just don't be in you know what. Because I ain't got no tolerance for jerks. If you're going to go in and sling mud, you're going to be slung out. That's all I got to say, man. Be cool. Be cool. Be cool. Right? Be cool. Right. Okay. All right. So from one boomer to the young kids out there, although technically I'm not a boomer, but some of you like to call me that. I get it. I understand. You can't hurt my feelings. Not at my age. It's impossible. Impossible. So until next time, I hope all of you have a great day. Bye-bye.